You're listening to JFDI with the Two Lauras, the podcast for social media freelancers who want to get more visible, streamline their systems, master their mindset, and make more sales. I'm Laura Moore, and alongside my co-host Laura Davis, we are on a mission to make working as a freelancer easier. Because honestly, working from home shouldn't feel like you're working alone. We believe that relying solely on long-term clients is a big mistake. It means that your bank balance can become capped, it puts your income at risk when a client cancels, and we're on a mission to help you to avoid that retainer trap. And we want to help you to build a more flexible business. That means that you can make more money without working with more retainer clients. If you're worried about being stuck in that retainer trap, the membership is the place to be. Inside, we give you the systems, the training, the support and the accountability to build out new offers that don't mean taking on more long-term clients and more long-term commitments. You get monthly training from world experts in their field, you get coaching and support from us and our incredible community of hundreds of other social media freelancers, and it all works together to make your life even easier. Plus, you also get access to Hubsy, the only software that you need to run your business. So whether you need to send an invoice, schedule your content, manage your email marketing or set up a website or sales page, we have got you covered. Annual membership costs less than £3 a day and all the details are in the description. But for now, let's get on with the show.
Hello and welcome back. Picture the scene. You're doing the work, you're creating the content, you're scheduling it, you're writing captions, you're hitting publish. Your clients' accounts are looking great. But their ideal clients, the people who are actively out there searching for exactly what your client does, has literally never seen it. Now that's not because your content is bad, but it's because it's invisible to them. And that is the thing I want to talk about today. Because something happened this month that changes how we should be thinking about social media management entirely. And I think most people haven't even clocked it yet. Google has just announced that you can now track how your Instagram, TikTok, X and YouTube posts perform on Google search. So in Google's own search console. So like a website, like a proper search property. And if you're thinking, okay, so what? That's a bit techie. That doesn't really affect my day-to-day life. I want to, gently suggest that actually it very much does. And by the end of this episode, you're going to have 3 things you can do this week that could add a very specific line to your next proposal. Let's dive in and let's start with what the actual Google update was and why it matters to you as a freelance social media marketer. On the 7th of July this year, so 2026, if you're listening to this in the future, Google launched something called platform properties in Search Console. So Search Console, if you don't know, is basically Google's behind the scene tool for understanding how content performs in search. So up until now, it was only for your websites. You'd verify your website and then you could see which Google searches were driving people to your website and which particular pages. Now you can do the exact same thing for your social media accounts. So you can connect your client's Instagram, TikTok, X or YouTube, and Google shows you exactly which search terms people type into Google before clicking through to that particular post or profile. So this is Google basically saying social media content is search content. And that is a massive deal because here's what it means in practice. Right now, if someone in your client's target audience types in the best, insert what their client does, into Google, their Instagram post could show up in those results, or their reel or their TikTok, alongside obviously the usual websites and blog posts that you would tend to see in search results. Now that has always technically been possible to some extent, but now for the first time you can actually measure it. You can see which posts are pulling Google traffic, which search terms they're ranking for, and what's actually working, which means for the first time you can report on that. And in my opinion, if you can report on it, you can charge for it. But here's an extra thing to think about. the Google update is only part of the story. The biggest shift is that the platforms themselves have become search engines. A survey of about 1,000 18 to 24-year-olds, admittedly this is just in the US, found that when it comes to finding local businesses, Instagram is now the first place they go, ahead of Google. TikTok came second and Google came third. Now, you and I both know that age group isn't necessarily every client's audience, but that behaviour will bleed out into the other demographics, and it will happen fast, in my opinion. I know for sure that I use social media to search more than I use Google nowadays. People are not just using social media to scroll anymore. They're using it to search. And this isn't necessarily new news. Laura and I have recorded podcasts about this in the past. We've created a lot of content around this. This isn't something that has suddenly popped up overnight. But the reality is this is changing quickly. People are typing in, I don't know, the best accountant for freelancers in Manchester. They're going onto Instagram and literally opening the search bar and typing that. They're typing how to choose a wedding photographer in TikTok. They're looking for answers to specific questions on the platforms in exactly the same way that they used to look on Google. And the content that comes up for those searches isn't random. It's content that has been optimized. Now, admittedly, some of it by accident, some of it will be deliberate, but they've been using the right words. And that is social SEO. And it's no longer just a nice to have or a slightly nerdy add-on. It's a fundamental part of how content gets discovered. And in my opinion, it's what makes you different as a social media marketer to just a content creator. So what actually happens to get your post found? So this is where I just want to get a little bit practical. We have covered some of this before, but I do think it's probably, given the news, worth a bit of a refresher, because I know some of you will be nodding along thinking, okay, yeah, this all sounds great, but you maybe just want a bit of that refresher information too. So the short version is, we all know now, hashtags have been demoted, but keywords are now king. For years, we've all sat to listen to how we have to slap 20 to 30 hashtags on every post, and the algorithm sends it to people who follow those hashtags. That's largely not how it works anymore. Adam Mosseri, the head of Instagram, has said that pretty much himself. He said that the hashtags don't meaningfully improve your reach. So they help with categorization, they're useful for search, but they're not the reach hack that they used to be. But what does work now is natural keyword language woven into the places that algorithms actually need that information and reads it from. And every platform is slightly different. So I'm just going to walk through a couple of them to give you a bit of an idea. So Instagram, that reads the captions, it reads your bio, it reads the name feed. It also reads alt text on images and the described audio on search text in Reels. So 3 things most people skip that actually move the needle are, first, the first line of that caption. That's what shows before more in the feed, and it's what the algorithm weights more heavily. So get a natural keyword into that first line. Second, the bio and the name feed. Instagram uses those when they're indexing for search results. So where someone might have making your brand beautiful, it is doing absolutely nothing for your discoverability. The name field and the bio should contain the words that your client's ideal customer would actually type into that search bar. So this is not to be rushed. And the third thing is alt text. Every image has an option to add a custom alt text. Now, You should be using this anyway, because a huge proportion of your audience will be needing that alt text from an accessibility perspective. But if you are not using it, then I'd highly recommend it purely for that reason alone, but also because it can be used to help with your discoverability. So writing a proper description of the image and using that to work naturally in those keywords. We don't want to be seeing keyword stuffing in the alt text, but naturally using those keywords are going to help give the algorithm something to index that. So the chances are your competitors are probably not using that. So this is a definite kind of fast way to get results. And I do want to just stress, please make sure that you are considering the accessibility elements of alt text here. You're not just stuffing in a load of random words. Okay, TikTok. TikTok reads 4 different layers. So it's what you say out loud, the on-screen text, the caption and the hashtags. The goal is to get roughly the same topic across all 4 and making it as natural as possible. So you don't want to kind of robotically be repeating it. So for example, a tutorial or maybe some how-to content, you want to say the search phrase in the first few seconds of the videos. You want to put it on the screen text in the first frame and develop it into that caption. TikTok transcribes the audio, so what's spoken counts as much as what's written, if that makes sense. And if you're not using TikTok's creator search insights yet, I would absolutely recommend you go and do that. It's basically their version of a keyword planner. So it's so useful, and they're literally giving you the information on a plate. Just go and search creator search insights into TikTok search and it will bring it up. And then once you're in there, it's fairly self-explanatory, but you can type in the topic, you can see what people are actually searching for, and it's free, it's really useful. Just not enough people are using it, and I genuinely think a lot of that information, it will be transferable to other platforms too. So even if you don't use TikTok, maybe just go and have a look in there anyway and get to grips with it and start to understand and start testing and seeing if actually the suggestions in TikTok are transferable to other platforms. You're only going to know if you actually test it. So for those of you who are using YouTube, YouTube has always been a search engine. Like, this is not new news for them. So this one's more about maybe refining what you're doing. The hierarchy in 2026 really is that the title comes first. So very much front load that keyword into the first 40 characters, I think it is, on YouTube. Secondly to that, you want to consider the description of the video. So again, prioritizing those first couple of lines because that's what comes up in Google results. And thirdly, you want to be thinking about obviously the spoken word, like what you're actually saying, because again, it uses this transcription of that audio. So trying to make sure that topic keyword is said in the very first 60 seconds of what you're talking about. And tags, very similar to the hashtags on Instagram, they're pretty much dead now. YouTube have said that themselves, so they play a kind of very minimum role. So I would maybe consider a couple of tags, but then just move on. I wouldn't be wasting much time with it. It's worth mentioning as well LinkedIn, although that isn't going to be appearing in the Google Search Console anytime soon that I'm aware of. LinkedIn very much had this overhaul in the last year or two and moved from showing your content from people you're connected with to very much showing your content about the topics you're interested in. So the practical upshot there is topical consistency is now the single biggest lever. Okay, so that's just touching on a couple of platforms. We want to think about now, what does this actually mean? Is this something that we can charge for? And this is something that I really want you to sit and kind of think about. Most of your clients have no idea that social media has search components to it. They think social media is like a broadcast medium. They're just posting something, people are going to see it, or maybe they don't, and that's it. That's the only lever. So the only thing that they think that they can play around with really is how often you post and how good that content is. The idea that their content is actually findable by people actively searching for what they do, and that you could be the person making it findable and measuring it, is completely different conversation. And it's one most of the people competing with you are not having. There is a statistic that I'm going to find. Hang on, I want to share it here. It's from a 2026 survey of social media marketers, and it found that only about half are currently using keyword-based captions as a strategy. Custom alt text, keyword-rich bios, searchable how-to content, optimized on-screen text, all of these things are sitting below 16% adoption, which means the vast majority of social media accounts out there are leaving discoverability on the table. And that, I think, for you guys is a massive opportunity. So what are we going to do about it? There's 3 things that I want you to do when you're after listening to this podcast. Number 1, I want you to go and set up your Search Console platform property. Do it for your business, do it for your client's business. It's not kind of retrospectively going to collect that data. So the sooner you can do it, the better. However, the caveat here, it is a gradual rollout. So at the point that I'm recording this, it's very slow. Not everybody's got it. So you do just want to maybe diarise to keep checking in. Go to Google Search Console and see if you have access to it. The way in which you do it, it's really simple, is you log into Google Search Console, you hit on the Add Property button, you look for the option to add a social or video platform property. You're going to connect to your account. You're obviously going to have to verify it. So you obviously can only connect your own or your clients. And they're saying within 48 hours, you should start to see Google search terms that are driving people to the profile, or not, as the case may be. So definitely keep an eye on that. And as soon as you're able to add it, then I definitely recommend you do that. And then once you've done it for yourself, I'd maybe create a resource so you'll get your clients to do that too, or use it as a lead magnet. There's definitely opportunity there to position yourself with this kind of knowledge. Number 2, do a bio and name field, audit, across your accounts and your clients' accounts. Open up each account that you have got access to. Look at the bio, look at that display name field. Ask yourself, if someone typed the thing that your client does into a search bar, would those words show up? If the bio is saying, like we mentioned before, making your brand beautiful, and the name field is just the business name, there's definitely work to be done there. Find a way to work in a very clear, natural description of what the client does and who they serve. And this isn't going to necessarily be a quick job. You're going to have to sit with this, think about it, do some research, but then update your bios, but also your client bios. And this could have a massive leverage on people finding your clients' profiles and your own, obviously. Number 3 is write a keyword map. That's for your own business, and then you can also do this for your client's business, and you can also do this as a potential to win new clients in the future. You could create this as a service. But before you sit down and plan your next content for your business or for your clients, I would definitely recommend opening up TikTok Creator Search Insights, as we've already mentioned, or going onto the Instagram search bar and type in the client's or your business broad topic. So for example, we would look at social media manager and then look at what the autocomplete suggests. Those are real search terms that real people are using. Now you want to pull out 15 if you can, maybe 20, depending on obviously how niche the service or business is, but pull out as many search terms that are relevant to your client. Those become your content pillars in a sense for the next month or so. They need to be in every caption. They need to be on-screen text. The video title needs to be informed by them. The opening words on spoken reels need to include them. This is your social SEO. This is the thing that you can put in your proposal as a distinctive service line. And right now, very few people are doing this. So you have the opportunity to really jump on this and position yourself and get your clients and get your prospective clients to understand how exciting and important this is in terms of discoverability. Okay, so just before we wrap up, I just want to say, in case you're listening to this going, oh my God, I'm not an SEO expert, I need to go and read up on it. You really don't. You already know a lot of this stuff. I'm saying really that yes, you have to be aware of social SEO and be implementing it, obviously, but you're not having to reinvent yourself as an SEO expert. But what I am saying is that social media is definitely changing, and the freelancers who understand the search layer of their job are going to be able to command a whole different conversation with their clients than basically the ones who don't. And this is exactly the kind of thing that moves you from the person who does your posts to the person who understands how people find us online when people describe you. And that second person is much harder to replace. It's much harder to discount. It's much easier to retain. The AI conversation is happening. Clients who are asking questions about what they're paying for, and the freelancers who can point to measurable search discoverability, click data from Google, search impressions from TikTok, and say, this is the work I do that makes you findable, you are going to be a lot more secure than the ones who can only point to a pretty Instagram feed. You already know this stuff. This is not new. You understand the platforms. You understand what people search for. You understand how to write captions and copy and what resonates with people. Social SEO isn't completely new skill. We've been talking about this for a while. It's just a new way to look at the skills that you already have. So definitely go and do the three things that I've mentioned. So setting up the Search Console property as soon as you can, audit those bios, build out that keyword map for your business as well as your clients. And if you want to talk about this, if you want to think about how we can put this as an offer or a service, come and have the conversation in the membership. If you haven't joined the membership yet and you want to have these kind of conversations about how you can monetize these kind of expertise, then come and check us out. I'll pop the link in the show notes and come and have that conversation with us. It's a really exciting time. And just before I go, if you have enjoyed our podcast recently, I would love to hear what you think. Now, as always, we love it when people jump into our DMs and tell us what resonated with them, what they found really useful. Please don't stop doing that. But can I just be really, really bold and say, please, can you go and leave us a review on whichever platform you're listening to this podcast on? Do go and tell us what you think. It will help more social media managers find us and hopefully all benefit from some of this advice.
Thank you so much for tuning into this episode of JFDI with the Two Lauras. We really hope you enjoyed it. And if you want more support, strategy and systems to run your social media business, consider joining the membership. All the details are at thetwolauras.com/membership, or you can find them in the show notes. Make sure you also follow along on Instagram. We're on there as @thetwolauras, and check out our website for loads more advice and support. Thank you so much for being part of our podcast community. We'll see you next time.